My first recollection is to remember that my birth was a serious problem for my mother that actually affected her health for the rest of her life. I know that she didn't have milk to. She lost her milk, and they bought a goat. My father built a cart for the goat, and I ride in it as well as I was being fed by the goat. In the house was a native woman that worked with the family for years. She was really the one that took over taking care of me. I think that my mother was even out psychologically. I don't really recall her. Maybe the first memory I have of her is when one day that she was not at the house, Magdalena has put me to be fed in the teeth of the goat, and my mother arrived and completely freaked out on it, and then she started sort of taking over. But I always felt a distance from her. I always felt that I didn't belong. I felt alien. While growing up, my brother and sister, whenever we have a hassle, they always said that I was the son of a goat, that I was not I was not of the family. My mother was a goat, and that upset me. That really upset me for a while, until one day I realized that it really was up to me to decide what that meant. And I started seeing it as, well, if my mother was a goat, and all the people I know's mother was a woman, I must be something really special. Like I must. It was magic, and Magdalena, the Indian woman, certainly completely reinforced that. In Mexico, the Indians have a traditional ritual that they perform at the birth of a human being. The first animal that approaches the hut in which the birth is happening becomes the receptacle of the soul or the energy of the human being born in that hut, and he can use that animal as his means to transcend his own physical manifestation, his body, and transfer it to that particular animal. So she said to me that the goat was that for me, my Nahual. I was a loner. I was not interested in the games that my brother and sister play. I played them, and I didn't get much out of it, although I was a winner. I started finding my own way and really inventing my own games. When I went to school, it was really very much the same thing. I had very few friends. The ones I have were very close. I always felt that what they were into was really always very insufficient for me. And I started drawing, and I started really discovering art. Following the Spanish Revolution, with all the refugees arriving to Mexico, my life was very deeply affected by this, because all of a sudden I was in a school that they founded, in which the students and teachers were from Spain. It really was like being in Spain, although the school was in Mexico. So I started relating to Spanish kids. My teachers were Spanish, and they were part of a very progressive institute in Madrid that I see as a symbol of what really was happening in Spain intellectually, which was the reason for which the war happened, because the Catholic Church was threatened, because the powers were threatened, and that was all the intellectuals of Spain, with the awareness that the past systems of education were completely off. They were completely missing the point. They started doing research on the process of learning, and they arrived to creating an institute that was there to teach teachers what the learning process was about. And so in reality, if you were going to go to one of their schools, what you were going to learn was going to be that you didn't need a school. The difference between being there and being in the Mexican schools was or can be really expressed by saying that in the first days of being in school, as usual, I arrived, I registered in, and then I split to the pool hall to be amazed not to find absolutely any of the students that I knew had done the same thing. Later on, I find out that instead of going to the pool hall, they went to the coffee houses and they to rap about chemistry or biology or history or whatever their interest was at. At that point, I was excited, and I started really realizing that the reason, one of the reasons to live, was to learn, to experience. Through being at that school, I realized too that it was really up to me, exactly up to me, what life was going to be. And I needed to make a choice. And I really saw that there were two possibilities. One was to learn the tricks, all the games, to be able to, in mastering them, have control and get what was needed. And the medium to accomplish this was money. On the other hand, it was another way, which was to live, to seek that which was able to move my being, and seek just that, eliminating anything else that was not going to be profitable in terms of my own growth. I soon decided that I didn't feel that I needed to be at school. I didn't need it to be there to learn what I wanted to do with my life. At that point, maybe 13, 14, I was interested in making a choice that was going to include as much of the realm of knowledge as possible. I started wanting to study science, and I wanted to approach it in the most pure way possible. I wanted really to make it my reason to live. But the school was insufficient. The school was too slow. The school was approaching it not as purely as I wanted to do it. I was at the time reading and relating to other kids that were interested in the things that I was interested in. To the point that we got microscopes and set up a small lab and were really doing it. We were learning how to be scientists by doing it. To be able to do that, we needed to do it in secret because paradoxically enough, they were always saying, well, you are not ready to handle that too. You need to go to school and then you will learn there how to use it. And we already were doing it. When I arrived to that realization, I decided that I wanted to go to a foreign country to study. And I decided that what I wanted was to be a physicist, but really apply it by really being involved in the design of spaceships. At that point, I was beginning to become aware of Da Vinci. And that was really my first full introduction to what there was in art. And I started realizing that maybe that was even a wider choice that was going to allow me to do as I wanted to. At that point, I started going to the art school. I enrolled myself in the Academia de San Carlos, and I started working very hard and advancing very fast because I was already aware of drawing, because I have already been drawing for years. When my father became aware that I wanted to go to other countries to study, he decided to see if he was able to back me, and in choosing as the university I wanted to go, MIT, he found out that he was not able to afford the tuition of the university that I had chosen. And not having second choices, I decided to start working to make money to finance my own education, my own way. And I started learning to be a salesman, which was my father's profession that he really preached. He always said scientists are needed, but they will not be able to do what they do, or what they do will be useless without the salesman. I started working, and I very fast started making any amount of money that I wanted to make. I was still living at home, and as the tradition is, all the money that I was producing was given to the household, and I received an allowance. In other words, they were still treating me as not as a human being, but as a child. And I started really withdrawing. I started really becoming more and more an alien, and realizing the difference of how I understood life and the way they did. It reached a point in which I decided to leave, and I talked with my father, and it was a freak out, and I left. I went to stay with a friend, Cebes Navarro, now a very well-known Mexican muralist, and in about 2 weeks I was able to get a deal together with two friends and set up an apartment and studio, and I started painting. With the experience of having been to the school, the fine arts school, and having decided that it was too slow, I started relating to it as an outsider, knowing all the students and instructors, going to all the gatherings that they had, constantly involved in discussing arts and so on, and science, and painting without ever showing what I was doing to practically anybody. The few people that knew it, most of the time were not even artists. They were more even scientists or psychologists, psychiatrists. That didn't last long. I realized that living in a even that way was not what I needed in terms of gathering the experiences that I needed to continue studying what was there that we call life. all of a sudden I decided that I wanted to withdraw completely from the city. And I started feeling that I needed to find a way to completely detach myself. I rented a room in the roof of a building. In Mexico, there are these little rooms that are usually used for the service for the natives that work in the houses as servants. In this room, I was able to completely withdraw, and I started going out less and less until I spent a period of time that might have been even a year without going out at all. Being able to feed myself by using the scraps of a Chinese restaurant that was in the basement of the building in which I had the room. The owner of the restaurant used to come to the roof to wash his clothes. In the roof is to the means to wash clothing by hand. That period in that room was really a period of self-destruction. I was painting a self-portrait, which was the first self-portrait and only self-portrait I ever painted. And it was like seeing what my life was about and arriving to the realization that I felt entangled by strings that were completely controlling my life. And I was very aware that those strings were all the roles that I needed to play to be able to relate to people. Because they always expected me to do certain things, and everybody expected a great deal of me. I realized that I couldn't possibly continue living on those terms, that I needed to even split far beyond just not producing money, but I needed to do it all the way. And what seemed to me was the way out, or the step forward, was to explore what was beyond death. I was really seriously considering the possibility of not killing myself, because it was not really in the picture at all. I was not contemplating death. I wanted radical change. I wanted to be myself, be able to have the freedom to be myself. It reached a point that I realized that time has passed, that I had been in that room for months, and when I faced the reality of a day in which I was going to need to leave the apartment or the room, I was threatened. I was completely frightened by the idea of leaving that room. My health was collapsing. I started having a great problem with my teeth. I have a toothache, and I wasn't able to stop it. I was completely frightened about the idea of going to the street. So with pliers, I was able to pull it out. And I was fine for a while. I had the same problem a second time, and in trying to pull the teeth with the pliers, I broke it, and the pain became unbearable, and I left the room completely taken by the pain, and I hollered in the street asking for help, and realizing that it was a sign of a dentist, I went in and forced myself, almost knocking the door down. He came out with a gun in his hand. Realizing that it was an emergency, he immediately started taking care of the problem. When I came to my senses and I saw myself in the mirror, I was really seeing the face of death. I was really seeing my skin completely green. I realized for the first time that my hair was long, that I had a beard. I realized that I had been through an experience that in the most real way conceivable meant the death of a part of me that used to be. I realized that I had shed something. When I started going out, from here on, I started completely going to the studio when I needed a place to sleep. And in a few months, I left for Acapulco. In Acapulco, I have a partnership with a friend that have a business, and I was a partner with the agreement that we were going to build an apartment in his house, and I was going to have plenty of time to paint. In a very short period of time, I realized that his ambition was so great that he was ready to use guns to he really was ready to be a gangster to fulfill his need of power and economic success. I just left. So I was all of a sudden walking out without a penny in my pocket. I went to the beach. I sit with the fishermen, and I ate what they were cooking. I stayed there, and I started sleeping underneath the boats and helping them when they came, sometimes going out with them. Time passed, and without realizing it, I was living with them and seeing less and less and less of what was there in the town. I started relating to them and to nature, and I started living out of what I was able to eat in the beach. Many times eating what the seagulls were eating. And I started withdrawing to the beach, living further and further away from Acapulco. All I carried with me was my hammock, and for 2 years I lived naked in the Guerrero coast of Mexico, and it was like regaining or becoming again, or reaching or touching the essence of our being, which is the animal, which is the body, which is the instincts. I started realizing that my brain was a great tool, but I started to realizing that my brain was the navigation tool that my instinct needed to use to survive. I met a Spanish artist that was living in Mexico without any legal papers. He was a Spanish refugee that arrived to Mexico, or smuggled himself into Mexico without any papers, and he was an anarchist, and he was a great thinker. So I started having a relationship that was very fulfilling, because we were doing exactly what we wanted to do. Isidro Covisa was the name of my partner in the beach, La Condesa, in Acapulco. He was an intellectual. He was a human being that followed his brain. Through him I experienced the opposite way of what I felt was what I was learning from my experiences. A good amount of my life, up to the point of going to Acapulco, was not really in the city. Whenever I was able to, I went to the archaeological sites around Mexico City, sleeping overnight in some of the pyramids in El Pedregal de San Ángel. I experienced them, and I experienced the natives. I live with them. I smoke what they smoke. I eat what they eat. I drink what they drink. Through living with them, I was changed many times. I was aware of what was happening, and I can see it now as shedding what was part of me that I didn't need anymore. And the sharing was really always related to roles. I see that now fairly clearly. The life in the beach. With the exception of the 2 years in which I was mostly by myself or with the natives, was to paint, to trap constantly with the people that came to the beach or with other artists. And it was always about what reality was about, what life was about, what we were about, what energy was about. In Acapulco, I had the experience of sharing with a couple of friends the discovery of some archaeological sites, and I was able to participate in the digging of some graves, and once again having a contact with the past that many times in that life with the natives was not the past. One of the things that I experienced in living with them and being changed by them was that time is just a concept. In the city especially, people have made that concept what time is rather than a continuum. In living with the natives and experiencing the pyramids, I realized that they were able to go beyond the time gaps or communication gaps or space gaps. They have been where they are as long as Earth has had the human being. In Mexico, the challenge as a painter is the mural, is the wall, is to paint murals in buildings. In the last 2 years that I was in Mexico, my awareness of architecture reached like architects like Mies van der Rohe and like architects that arrived to solutions in which the wall disappeared. It doesn't exist anymore. Glass buildings and so on, right? Buildings that make quite a bit of sense to me because we are arriving to the age of light, coming from the cave. Finally, it seems that we are able to face the fantastic amount of information that light gives us, right? So the buildings or the architecture is becoming the architecture of light rather than the architecture of darkness, with small rooms, with small windows, with darkness inside, right? As protection against that amount of information and excitement and sexuality and whatever, right? Now, so the wall that is where I am going to paint is disappearing. So I arrive here and actually accidentally I become aware of plexiglass. And in plexiglass I begin to see the possibilities of arriving to techniques that will allow me to do what I want to do and survive as I want to survive, doing things in an architectural scale, not in a canvas or in that scale. So all my plexiglass work, what really is the development of techniques that will allow me to use the exterior light to bring it inside of the building and allow you to be in any place of the building, even in the inner core, being aware of what light is doing outside, like it is the sunset or it's the sunrise and so on, right? That is one of the and I might call that architecture of light. But I am going to arrive to. I am very close to arriving to that, and then I am going to publicly present it as architecture of light. That is in reference to what I do with plexiglass. From the light point of view. Now, it's another technique that I've been developing that relates to the same thing, but it has a variation to it, and that is the pressure paintings. Now, the pressure paintings will be a substitute to the stained glass windows. Doing exactly as the stained glass windows do, which means you have light behind that makes the colors very bright in the interior of the building, and the lights outside coming through the stained glass windows throws the color of the windows in the environment, walls or floor or whatever, right? Well, the pressure paintings, the difference will be that the pressure paintings are related to the structure in a way in which the pressure changes in relation with the movements of the structure. So the designs in the pressure paintings is changing in relation with what the structure is doing. And that establishes a communication between you and building itself. The previous work that I was talking of in plexiglass established a relationship between you and exterior. The pressure painting establishes a communication between you and building itself, structure. It makes you visually aware of how a building moves.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
When you were talking about the work that you did now for Falco in the room, you were talking about how it related to you and what you were going through.
Right.
What you've been doing in plexiglass and what you're working on now.
That's an excellent question. I think that I have arrived to what I call classic art, as opposite to expressionistic art. I was born a Mexican, and that was very well defined. It meant born in Mexico. It meant to have a tradition that tells you what masculinity is and what femininity is and what life is and what your duties are and what is wrong and what is bad, right? I think that the artist is the human being that does not accept those definitions. The artist is the human being that hears them, but gets into finding himself on them, and then whatever he finds, that is what he becomes. My first years in Mexico, growing up as an artist, were of feeling that I was alien to everything that I related to. I felt that I was not part of it. I was an outcast. For many reasons that are interesting. I am very, very tall in Mexico. So I was the tallest kid in school. I have never been in a school that it was anybody, my brother, taller than I am. I was always the tallest. So I was a freak. sort of give me a position of being very much into it. I needed to get to the center to be able to belong, but outside of it. Like I learned to make friends very fast and go to the ones that were obviously the leaders, the bullies, and make some kind of contact. I've been directing my work since the last 4 years towards the bicentennial. I am working in several projects. One of them, by instance, relates to the Smithsonian Institution. I will present a proposal to them to build a microscope, a giant microscope. The diameter of the lenses will be from 36 to 48 inches for people to see people. An optical device that will put you through the experience of being able to see a human being magnified. I am working in a project that I will officially present out through the Mexican embassy, and it's being presented as a gift from the third world. Mexico being the spokesman, as a gift for the people of this country in relation with the celebration of the bicentennial. And that is, the project involves two buildings, one in Mexico City and another one in Philadelphia or Washington. It is a tetrahedron pyramid. It's 260 feet each side, and inside is divided by a sphere that is the inside space is divided in 5 spaces, one smaller tetrahedron here, one here, one here, one here, and a sphere. That sphere is 180 feet diameter and is bisected by a floor. In that floor, synchron happens. It is a building that is a tool of coherent communication for people to gather in it and do what we are doing in the form of synchron. We have experienced synchron. And I went back to being by myself in a little island in front of Acapulco Bay. I lived there by myself, and when that was happening, I met a girl from the United States. She started living with me. Her family was really opposed to our relationship. To stop their power, we decided to get married, and she started living with me in La Roqueta Island. This didn't last too much. In 3 months, the family started sending letters asking her to come back since her father was sick. She left and started writing letters in which it was obvious that she was not going to come back since she felt responsible for the sickness of her father, which ended in his death. Feeling that I needed to have some questions answered, and feeling that I really wanted to come to this country, I left Mexico and I arrived to San Luis, Missouri, where she was living, and to find a human being that didn't have much to do with the human being that I met in Mexico. I left and I went to Philadelphia. The year was 1960.
I can't remember.
It was 18 years ago. It was 18 years ago. When I arrived in Philadelphia, I arrived with $400 and the address of two friends that I had met in Acapulco, in my place in the beach, both of which had bought some of my paintings, both of which were very excited about my work. They were very helpful and find me a place to stay, a room in which I pay very, very small amount of money in a Catholic school. So that allowed me to stay in the country. In a short period of time, I met a dealer, an art dealer, that I was told to be the most progressive art dealer in Philadelphia at the time. I signed a contract with him, so he was obliged, his commitment was to provide a studio and the money needed for survival materials. So I was able to start painting. He provided a place, a loft in a building in South Street, in South Philadelphia, in which it was no living facilities. It was not heating, it was not running water, it was not electricity, but it was a roof and it was wall to hang paintings on a floor and a place to work. I started improving it with the promises of him putting the facilities needed. At the time, I didn't speak any English to speak of. I was hardly able to get what I needed in a restaurant. I used a fantastic amount of my time learning English by constantly watching television and seeing films and talking with people. At that time, at a party, I met Jim Haritas. Jim Haritas was, at the time, a student at Penn University, and he invited me to join some seminars at which people like David Smith and so on were part of. Through doing that, I was able to establish a relationship with the artists that I consider were relevant to my way of being. But the most important part of those years was the friendship that started growing between Haidas and myself. We constantly committed ourselves to engaging all the people that we related to in a fruitful interchange of concepts. We were constantly challenging each other to talk about what each thought was relevant. The experience lasted about close to 2 years at Penn University. When the administration became aware that I was consistently joining the seminars and even other activities, and I felt that they were going to approach me, I went to the dean and introducing myself, I let him know that I was interested in being there. I told him that I felt I have the right to be there because I was a positive input. I told him that they have facilities that were not all the time used and that I was in need of. I told him that I didn't have interest in getting any credits. I told him that I did not need it. I didn't have money to pay for the tuition. And he decided that he needed to think about how to accommodate me. So he said that I could continue to come and use the facilities until he was going to decide what to do. A while later, he called me and said, "Look, I have not been able to find a way to handle your situation. Your situation, your proposal, the way you are relating to being here is so unorthodox that I don't have means to judge it or relate to it. And I feel that I cannot really make any exception. I need rules are there that I need to follow, and I don't know how to include you or how to. Those rules don't seem to apply in this case." When he said that, I said to him that in my thinking, if you have a rule, automatically you need to accept that there are some exceptions. At this point, he said, "Well, in that case, can you prove that you are the exception?" To which I reply, "Well, I think I am the only Mexican artist living in Philadelphia." He laughed and he said, "Look, I am going to let you continue come to the university, but in a sense you don't exist." So from there on, I was able to have the privilege of being there without any restrictions. About 2 or 3 years later, Jim came to me and mentioned that there was a project for a show of abstract art that was going to be sent to Helsinki with the artists represented in the show traveling with it to be at Helsinki at the time in which the first youth festival was going to happen. I was excited about the idea, and I decided to join, and I started trying to get ready for an interview that needed to happen in New York. Jim asked me too if I knew a black artist that maybe was interested in going, since the only black artist at the university didn't want to go. I have a very close friendship with Howard Smith, and Jim knew him, and when I mentioned the possibility that he was going to be excited, he thought that he was the perfect artist to represent his people. I approached him, and he was very much against the idea because he thought that he couldn't leave, since he felt he was the member of his social group that carried the responsibility of leadership. He thought that if he was going to leave, he was going to betray his people. I reacted very strongly to the way he was approaching to the idea of leaving this country to go to Helsinki, and we had this agreement, and we parted without really knowing if the friendship was going to continue. Later on, he called me, letting me know that he was going to Helsinki, and he was going because he understood that when I said to him that if he wanted to help his people, he needed to be as much a success himself as he was going to be able to give his people an image. He left to Helsinki with Jim. I was not able to go, perhaps due to the fact that as a Mexican artist, I was a political risk. Through the seminars at Penn University, I met another artist, Lois Hodge. She was a sculptor working with stainless steel and other metals, doing very, very relevant work with a strength that was overwhelming to experience, and an honesty that was easily appreciated by the people that experienced her work. In a short period of time, we started living together. 3 years later, our first child was born. Through the period of time in which Lois was pregnant, I started working with plexiglass. Now that relates to of another part that is very important part of the fabric of this country. Foreigners come here and found the country, but they were adventurers. They were runaways. They didn't want to remember too much of what they were coming from, and they lose track of the facts that if you cut the roots, what you are doing is you cut the relationship with earth. That allows them, right, people in this country, to go to the moon first. In a sense, what is happening in this country is that people in this country are becoming the earthlings again, long hair. The new generation is a generation that has an awareness in relationship with how they relate to earth that was exclusive of people like Dino. And I include myself in that, because although I don't have his ancestry is Indian, most of his ancestry. My ancestry is all Celtic. Spanish, very little of French, all from the north. But in Mexico, I was born in Mexico, and then I get into the land, and I was accepted by the native. I lived with them, and I was fully accepted. I can't. I live with them. I smoke what they smoke. I drink what they drink. I didn't ask any questions, and I went through all the rituals. Many times I feel that that was such a sharp change in my life that since then I am in a trip in which I was sent.
What kind of a trip?
The nicest way, and maybe the truest way of answering it, is to say a magic trip. A trip in which the thing that I need to accomplish is to reveal.
You're talking about your trip as in the United States?
As an artist, yeah.
As an artist in America?
Right. In the last 8 years, by instance, one of the things that I arrived to begin to feel more and more strong is that I shouldn't say that I'm an artist, because I have somehow broken beyond, expanded the realm of my activity. In other words, it's not a separation between work and life for me. Art for me is the best way to survive. Art is a series of techniques that allow the human being to enhance more and more his awareness. art is the only discipline I'm aware of that embraces any other discipline. Science excludes art. Art does not exclude science. You know, art to me is the technology of survival in the most positive sense conceivable. So in the last years, I see myself as a creator, and the difference is that the commitment to create is more wide. My commitment is to create, as opposite to destroy. Creation being the proper use of myself and what is around. Like all through my life, that happened in a lot of ways. For instance, I am a giant in Mexico. I am very, very, very tall in Mexico. In all the schools I was, and I was in a lot of schools because my father was very progressive, and we moved to a lot of different houses in terms of his economic success. So that meant that we went to a lot of different schools. Whenever I arrived at school, I was the second tallest. The tallest was my brother. So we were always the freaks, right? And that created a strength in me that allowed me to sort of. And it's what is interesting is that it acted it made my brother a slave, sort of a happy slave, but a slave. Like he felt like that uniqueness was bad, and I felt that uniqueness was good, and I pride myself on it, and he felt humiliated, like he wanted to be short, and so on, right? And it was. I really think that I have experienced discrimination to a degree that you cannot possibly imagine. It was another thing that they pulled on me, my brothers, right, and sisters, which was they are both much more wider than I am.
Shoulders?
No, wider. I am sort of olive skin. And my brother is white, like sick white. Is that right? And my sister too. So it was like see, you are the son of a god, and we are not brothers, right? Well, that created another thing, which was I was very independent from my mother. Me estás abriendo el apetito.
¿Tiene tiempo de estar aquí?
En Estados Unidos. 13 años.
¿Qué es de acá?
Soy de todos los lados. Soy de la tierra. Vine a Estados Unidos a recuperar la tierra. recuperar la tierra.
Era de nosotros.
¿Ah?
Era de nosotros, se la llevaron todos.
Oh, sigue siendo mía. ¿Sabes cómo vine yo aquí? Cuando fui a la embajada y les quería pedir la visa de inmigrante, porque yo no quería venir con visa de turista. Me dijeron, no, pues tienes que esperar 2 años. Le digo, no tengo que esperar nada. Nada más me voy a la frontera y nado a través del río. Que nunca ha oído usted de Huelva, de braceros, ¿no? Y les expliqué que era mejor para ellos que me legalizaran. Entonces me dieron los papeles en una semana. Si sabes cuáles son tus derechos y los usas, nadie te puede quitar nada. ¿Cuál es tu nombre? ¿Ah?
Marta.
Marta. I love you, Marta.
Oh, well.
¿De dónde eres? ¿De Honduras? ¿De dónde crees que soy yo? Mexicano.
Mexicano. Ay, qué bien, ¿no?
¿Has ido a México?
No, pero tengo que nacer en México.
¿Tú de dónde eres?
Guatemala.
¿De dónde?
Guatemala.
Guatemala. ¿Has ido a México tú? Yo no he ido a Guatemala tampoco, yo también tengo que ir a Guatemala. He estado en Yucatán, pero no he pasado la frontera. Es lo mismo.
Vamos.
There's a
Oh.
second frog I found out.
Arturo,
¿Cómo?
Antonio.
Sí, lo conocíamos.
¿qué es? ¿Qué estás haciendo aquí?
Trabajo aquí.
¿Sí?
What's better, the ball or this?
¿Sabes lo que está pasando hoy? Estoy encontrando pelotas. Encontré esta pelota, después encontré esta pelota. Estoy esperando qué clase de pelota va a ser la otra pelota que voy a encontrar.
¿De dónde es esto? Esto.
¿Cuál?
Esta aquí. Esta voz.
Esta es de India. Y esta es de Marruecos.
Ajá. También esta chaqueta.
La chaqueta yo la hice
Yo le conseguí el...
con pantera negra.
Don't
Te la
start.
mató.
Have you started? We get it. He wants to use paint.
Yo no maté la pantera.
No.
La pantera se murió de miedo cuando me vio.
¿Dónde consiguió todas estas cositas? Esta que está aquí, es bonita.
Las mujeres que me aman.
Ah,
Me lo
la tiene
dieron.
bastante, que las quiere por cada botón, ¿eh? Wow. ¿No? ¿Y esto? Oh, también esto.
Estas son las que me aman más.
Sí, pues claro, hacen bulla, ¿no?
¿Por qué no me das tu pelo? Para que me ponga una aquí. This is the hair of an Anglo-Saxon queen. I need here the girl of a Latin queen.
También.
¿India? ¿Qué tribu?
Tribu apache.
Tribu apache. Los apaches no saben cómo guiñar el ojo.
Oh.
The things were changing around the beach in which I was. And the changes were due to development of the place, meaning that more hotels were happening around and so on and so on. The crowds that were getting to the beach were different. Like this guy arrived and make the proposition of partnership and so on and so on, and went through that bad experience. And at the same time, I'm beginning to become more and more aware of a type of human being that was very different than any other human being that I have experienced so far. And the first experience that I have was just fantastically powerful and amazingly beautiful. I am sitting in the beach talking with Covisa, the other artist partner, and he have 3 kids, and one of the kids comes and says, "It's the body of a human being in the water, dead." And we say, "Go away," because that kind of thing happened fairly, not that often, but with some frequency. When the body stands up, right, and starts walking out, right? Now, any native of any of us aware of that ocean will never walk the way he was walking, looking at us without looking back, because like you need to time the thing, and it was absolutely, it was like to us was something that we were not able to understand. My self, my friend, and the natives. When he stand up, every single native disappeared. Like as far as they were concerned, he was an apparition.
It's a very surrealistic experience.
Now, he was a beatnik. He was a Zen master. He was an American, a USAI. No, he was an American. No, he was
You got
like
on me
everywhere.
yesterday.
No, he was like you know what I mean, like the essence of what human should be. He was an unbelievable guy. Now, like he was a strong experience, but like I started meeting kids that were maybe 19 years old or even younger than that, and I asked them, "What do you do?" And one of them say, "I am a composer." Well, in Mexico, you say, "I am a composer" at that age, and everyone laughs at you, because you need to be 60 to be a composer. And to be a good composer, you need to be about 75, right? And this kid is really serious, and I start talking about, I am trying to get information about, well, what do you mean? And he started talking about music. Like he's far away from my awareness of what music is all about, and it sounds like something that I don't understand, and so on and so on, right? So I begin to become aware that something is happening in this country that I want to be involved with. I think we are arriving to a point in which not only the negativity of destroying has become so extreme that is rendering itself powerless. Like the fact that Cuba, a little island, right, a few thousand human beings are able to threaten the two greatest powers, create a situation that frees the whole thing up, you know, says it. On the other hand, the tools of communication we have today are such, and at the same time, the people that have been so thoroughly brainwashed that they don't accept more information are thoroughly open to subliminal what do you call information. Art today is the answer to the artist is the communicator. The artist is not the revolutionary. The artist reveals. The artist acknowledges change and deals with change and expresses change. Is the philosopher and the writer and the scholar the one that make it become a flag? You know, and start using art as a weapon politically or whatever. It is, I believe, a tool to not replace government, but make it become what we have tried to. And when I say we, I really speak like a USA. I don't call people in this country Americans because I am an American. I call people in this country USA.
In coming out of the cave, man mechanically survives imitating the animals mechanically. In doing so, he became aware mechanically of himself and animal mechanically. And to overcome the animal mechanically, he became animal mechanically. Or mechanical men mechanically, as mechanical men mechanically, he gave birth to the machine mechanically, and organized his world mechanically. Being conquered by the machine mechanically, mechanical men die mechanically. In coming out of the machine, men mechanically survive imitating the machines mechanically. In doing so, he became aware mechanically of himself and machine mechanically. And to overcome the machine mechanically, he became machine mechanically. Or mechanical men mechanically, as mechanical machine mechanically, he gave birth to electricity mechanically, and organized his world electrically. Being conquered by electricity, electrically, electromechanical men die electrically. To give birth electromechanically to electromechanical men atomically. In coming out of the past atomically, men will become cybernetically, cybernetic men cybernetically. To give birth ecologically to ecological men that ecologically will fulfill creation humanly.
Now you are really comfortable.
Yes, but as you're saying about Hans Hacke,
As I was saying, Hans Hacke was a student at Temple University. I met him and I was able to see what material he was using, and it was plexiglass. So I can truly say that my involvement with plexiglass came out of that experience that I had with Hans. One thing that astonished me was that he was working with the material completely covered by tape. Certainly that the reason was to protect it, but what I was not able to understand is that plexiglass being light, plexiglass being a material that defines light in a very specific way, he was working with it without actually having a visual contact with the material. Previous to starting working with plexiglass, I have painted for years with acrylics. My involvement in my paintings was light as such. In becoming acquainted with plexiglass, I realized that it really was a material that was going to allow me to, in a sense, survive what I was seeing was the future to come, since architecture was becoming more and more glass, and I wanted to continue working architecturally, and the idea of murals was becoming less and less attractive. For a couple of years, I worked with plexiglass. I built several small models, and then by chance, walking in a Market Street in Philadelphia, I realized that it was a building coming up that was very exciting. I approached the people in the building, and I was told that it was going to be the home office of Ramajos Corporation, manufacturer and developer of plexiglass. My initial approach to the corporation was somehow full of surprises. Initially, I realized that I wasn't able to contact the proper people to fulfill my aim, which was to get an architectural commission. Nevertheless, failing in contacting the right executive, I left one of the models with the receptionist in spite of her reluctance to accept it. I left it on her desk, walking away while she was saying, "You cannot do that." And I was answering, "Well, I don't think that the piece is going to follow me. So I leave it there and you show it to the proper executive." Shortly afterwards, I was contacted by one of the executives, and he asked me to come to see him. From that interview, a relationship started that was going to last for several years, and that ended up in the creation of a very important piece of my work with light in plexiglass that I titled Limitations of Infinity. One easy way to describe the piece is that it is a building for light to be in a scale for the eye to enter and the mind to move. The piece is 9 feet tall. It goes from ceiling to floor. It's installed between two stainless steel plates that are part of the structure of the building. And it's an environment in which you can experience light going through all the imaginable reactions, like diffraction, refraction, diffraction, reflection, and so on. Since I did that piece, which by the way happened at the time that my first child, Io, was being born. At that time, I started becoming aware that I was more and more getting involved with energy as such as the material to work with, light being the manifestation of energy that was more exciting. In creating those optical spaces that my pieces achieve, I started realizing that I was dealing with a very unique material, a very precious material, a very exciting material, because if you work with it, you begin to realize more and more that although we have the impression that it is a solid, and therefore we see it as a static material, the reality of it is that it's far from being so. In working with it, I became aware that in putting pressure on it, the material, in protecting itself, reacted to the points of pressure, establishing a flow that created double refractions that gave very bright rainbow colors that increase in brilliance in relation with the amount of pressure. I started doing pieces using that concept, pieces that I call pressure paintings. It reached a point in which I invested all I was able to generate economically in building a studio and equipping it with a Bridgeport milling machine that allowed me to have an almost ideal shop. At the same time that my involvement with plexiglass started, I started becoming aware of technology as such, generally speaking, and finding it a very natural thing for me to deal with. I started doing other pieces that were to be great experiences in terms of energy. All this time, all these first years in which I was working with plexiglass, Jim was in Finland, or at least I stopped seeing him for several years, until one night we saw each other at an opening at the Academy in Philadelphia, in which I was showing two pieces of plexiglass. At the time, Jim was already working in the museum. Our relationship started becoming more intense, and out of the times that we saw each other, always something important happened. I can't remember the air shot. I can't remember the time that Jim came and mentioned the idea, saying that he had Philip Morris Corporation interested in sponsoring a traveling show whose theme was to be air. I did two pieces in which my aim was to create a visual awareness of air as energy. One of them, a cylinder of plexiglass with mercury covering the totality of the bottom, on the reaction of a propeller that activated the mercury to the degree that was able to lift it and throw it in the air. The other piece for the air show was a structure of steel approximately 4 by 4 by 12 feet high, with a sheet of steel that was about the same measure, 4 by 4, that was lifted to the top and then let loose to fall, not fast due to the pressure build up, the air pressure build up underneath it. These two pieces were part of the air show, and this was a show that traveled to Australia and Amsterdam and came to this country to be shown at the Iverson Museum in Syracuse. My involvement with technology as a medium was to be the main part of my was to take the main part of my time, and at the time I met Billy Kluber, which was involved with the evenings at the Armory in New York. I joined the show that he organized for the Brooklyn Museum, through which I had the great experience of meeting other artists from all over the world working with technology. For that show, I designed and built a piece that was a kinetic pressure painting that was to travel to the West Coast with the cybernetic serendipity, which was the title of the show, that was actually generated in England, and I joined in Washington. It seems that I mix the cybernetic serendipity with the Brooklyn Museum show. The Brooklyn Museum show was titled Some More Beginnings, and it happened in conjunction with the machine show at the Museum of Modern Art. My life went through a shock when Lois left with Ian Taro. I was not able to function at the studio, so I started acting in a more conceptual way, and I started getting involved with media, specifically videotape. In South Street, Philadelphia, which was actually the first neighborhood in which I lived when I arrived to this country, I met a group of people two architects and a theater director, Tom Bissinger. Tom Bissinger was acting director of the Theater of the Living Arts in Philadelphia. Had quit his job as director of the theater and wanted to do something in the streets. I excited him about the possibilities of videotape. At the time, I was mostly traveling. When I came a year later to Philadelphia, I find out that Tom has bought some Akai video equipment. We have, at the same time, a very large studio space on 4th Street between South and Bainbridge. The group was structured as a corporation called WPCP, meaning work I don't remember. Work peacefully, communicate patiently. The experience with video in South Street was outstanding. What we essentially did was to take the different groups of people in the area, Italian, Polish, black, and we started showing them to each other. The area, the neighborhood, was a part of the city in total decay, threatened on top by a highway outlet. Through using videotape and involving people, allowing them to get acquainted with each other and becoming aware of the problems that they have, that were common, many things started happening. They started getting organized. A corporation called Renaissance was born, and through it we fought the city and defeated the project of the highway tram that was going to destroy part of the neighborhood. The area, which was basically empty buildings with few old-timers hanging to their shops, started thriving. Due to the decay in the area, it was possible to buy property at ridiculous prices, and it was very rewarding to see that many of the artists and people that were not going to be able to afford to buy a house were able to do so. I am putting together all the things that I've been doing with in one single structure. All my understanding of light and my awareness of energy is being directed to design an energy structure, which is a tetrahedron pyramid. And I was doing that when I was at the committee. I was drawing the preliminary drawings and getting information and putting out information about this structure. When I started putting some amount of information out, very minimal amount of information, immediately I started getting a very, very positive feedback from people related to NASA, from the Air Force, from all the friends that I talked about the project. The project is to make 2 pyramids. The tetrahedron structure is a tetrahedron pyramid. It's 260 feet each side. The materials are metal, either steel, stainless steel or aluminum, plexiglass, copper, silk, perhaps wood, and a material called phoenix stone that is a recycling product. The tetrahedron pyramid is divided in 5 spaces: a sphere, 180 feet diameter, and 4 smaller tetrahedrons, 1 on top of the sphere, 3 in the bottom. Do you see it visually? All those 5 spaces are equipped with audio and video equipment, and those are the 2 in the bottom. The third one will be used to study psychic energy as it behaves through so-called extrasensory perception. In the main floor of the building, which is the floor that bisects the sphere, what will be happening is a video process that has been developed by Committee for the Future, and it's called SYNCON, meaning convergence of synergies.
That's in there, with the light.
We'll know when we look at it
Yeah.
what it's
They're
capturing.
very hard to shoot.
Obviously, on in the black and white readout here, I can't tell.
Yeah, right.
But once we show it, it's amazing how you do get some fun stuff sometimes.
Yeah, his pieces are very difficult to shoot.
They're fun though. They're reflective.
Yeah, and all that. And you saw this piece at Upper Black Eddy. He made it that summer when we lived together.
I don't remember it.
Yeah.
I remember other ones. It's really very pretty.
It's beautiful. And I bought it.
You bought it?
I bought it, yes.
How much did you pay for it?
$3,000.
Oh, God.
I charged it. It was in must have been 1988 or 7, something like that.
When you do something like that, did you get a piece of paper signed by him saying that it's an authentic his
I
thing?
didn't get it from him. He sold it. Amos Khan.
Oh.
And
you bought it.
And Amos died. He was a very, very well-known, extensive collector. Amos died, and many of his pieces were put up for sale, and this was one of them, and I was not going to let this get lost, and so I bought it. Charged it all the way.
Did you have to bid for it?
No, I didn't have to bid for it. I gave them my price, and they accepted it.
God, I'm sure they did.
Arturo's not well known.
No, but he might be one day.
I certainly hope so. He deserves it.
Things
By the
like-
way,
Shortly afterwards, I met a group of people, a corporation that call themselves Committee for the Future. Committee for the Future is an organization that owns $500,000 on color video equipment. The organization was founded by Barbara Max Forward and Mr. Whitehead. Together they devised a system, a process that they call SYNCON, from convergence of synergies. The process happens between a large group of people that gather inside of a prefabricated building, which is divided by walls as slices of a pie. It lasts several days, and the space is at all times covered by video. So the people involved are being transformed by the experience of seeing themselves in the tube. The objectives of the gathering are to solve a problem that in advance has been set. I joined the SYNCON that happened in Washington, and it was an overwhelming experience. While at the Committee of the Future, a concept came that was to design a building that was going to allow people being in it to communicate more coherently. Working with Rina, we have developed a concept for a building that can be called a tetrahedron sphere, since it is a structure that has as the two elements, structurally speaking, of a tetrahedron in the outside with a sphere inside of it. The sphere is bisected, giving or creating in that area the main room of the building for people to gather being covered by videotape and relating in space in a completely harmonic way with the building itself, as well as Earth and the cosmos. We expect that such building will happen, and we have been in a sense receiving information related to this structure using painting as the medium to put down the information that comes to us jointly as messages from outer space. Since we have been working together, we have become aware that our work more and more is developing a series of tools of perception, tools of meditation. So we don't really see a painting as we used to see a painting. We see a painting as a tool to expand the awareness. We expect in the next years to further our research. We have decided to move to Hawaii, to live in Maui, which we consider a very specifically important spot in Earth related to the concepts we are dealing with, concepts that have an intimate relationship with those of Cheops or the Mexican pyramids or buildings of antiquity as Stonehenge and so on.
¿Cuál es tu seña? Aquarius. Yo soy Pisces. Es un chocolate. Yo soy un chocolate frito.
We have become aware, as Rina is mentioning, that from different sources there is information that is telling us that something happens with energy in Earth. It seems that infrared photography used by NASA has created the awareness of different areas in Earth that in these infrared photographs show, to simplify it, a blue glow that seems to happen in Cheops as well as other archaeological sites, and strangely enough, or interesting enough, in Maui, Hawaii. It seems that such aura or glow is found where pyramids are, the exception being Maui. We have established contact with scientists, mathematicians, and the reaction or the feedback has been very encouraging. In putting information out related to the pyramid, at the time of my relationship with Committee of the Future, it was overwhelming to get the feedback of Oliver Reiser very shortly previous to his death. Oliver Reiser worked in contact with Einstein and developed cosmic humanism. Our objective in Maui will be to, as mentioned earlier, more intensely research and possibly to arrive to a building that might become a healing center. Use that we found very harmonic or coherent with what we expect the building to accomplish. Chaos seems to create an energy field in which things happen that have not been yet fully understood by science. Out of the understanding that we have arrived in relation with what will happen in a structure such as the one we are working with, our expectations are that it will be a space, a field in which energy will interact in terms of synergy. It will be a field in which entropy is minimized or perhaps even abolished. It is very feasible, in my mind, to refer to such building as the gate to a future in which infinity is there. It will be a gate to eternal life, a gate to a limitless existence. We all know that we have outgrown Earth. We all know that we are now inhabitants of space, and we are ready to seek such a goal. Can you stop? Tetrahedron is not arbitrary. The tetrahedron is the basic, the most essential, the first possible definition of three-dimensional space, the simplest, more comprehensive, synergistic structure. The sphere is the most complex, the union of tetrahedron and sphere, therefore, is in a sense the union of opposites in perfect harmony. In the feedback coming from Oliver Reiser, he was reacting to the information that we put out, in which we were saying that we think that life, as in DNA, is a structure having as the primary block, structural module, as the tetrahedron.
And so is the universe.
And so is the universe. In essence, what we are really talking about is energy as such. It's how energy is structured, how energy behaves. Our research is to realize how energy behaves in an environment such as a tetrahedron, or an environment such as a sphere. If you go into micro or go into macro, you will, through a microscope or a telescope, see that the two basic structural elements are always tetrahedron and sphere. We expect in the next year and a half or so to put a more comprehensive, a more total amount of information out, perhaps in the form of a book, as well as a videotape. This being the first attempt.
Okay. Okay, so when you're ready to start shooting, this is just going to be a videotape discussion that we can play back of what we intend to do.
We're rolling right now.
With the tape. All right, that's fine. With the tape that we are going to, in the subsequent footage that we're going to shoot, right? In the rest tape.
Define the scope of the shape?
Well, I thought they were just like some interesting things if you were going to really sit down and do a self-portrait, or a portrait of essentially a long-term relationship.
Right, exactly.
That there, within that configuration, there are a series of very interesting things. There are individual portraits, in other words, self-portraits.
That's right.
It's my reading out on myself. And one of the things I thought would be really interesting would be for, like, you know, I'd like to be able to sit in my house, for example, and kind of discuss a lot of my ideas about situations and so on in my life, and the point. Let me see, how else I want to say this? Now, wait and see if this is a good idea, Arturo. One of the things that I wanted to do was to, as a prelude to making our discussion, which really essentially begins, well, God, it's been about 14, 15 years ago. So rather than essentially begin with the 15-year thing, I think we ought to start the tapes individually at the beginning of our lives, right? And just only start the last part of the tape will be devoted into those years, right? Now, does that make sense to you? No.
Oh yes, that's sure.
Okay, so that's numero uno, right? That's gonna. But the other thing is that I thought we could do the first part of the tapes individually. Like I would like to talk about first period of my life, totally in the nude, with Rita shooting the camera, right? And from crazy angles, you know, like the angle of your heel, because I'm really interested in that form of anatomy. And I would like to see that on videotape. And I think that
So let repeat.
So until I get to the point where we meet, right? And then from that point, we'll just meet, we'll just choose a spot here or somewhere else, or partially in my place or your place or whatever. Or maybe just a spot and we can invite people, and then we can get into kind of discussion about that, carried to the point where the tape ends. And then that's the videotape. So any segment would be interesting, you know?
Oh, sure.
You know, a half hour, you know, you might want to do your half hour or an hour. The hour that you would, you know, kind of create the prologue or create the environment for the discussion that we're going to have.
Who I was when I arrived and where I come from and from Bel.
Yeah, where you come from and what are the things, like I would like to be able to, on videotape, talk about things that I wouldn't normally talk about, real personal things. I'd like to be able, no limits in other words.
Exactly.
I'd like to talk about, might want to talk about my family, or might want to talk about, you know, like some background or something I met or something. Just a kind of saying, well, you know, I started at this year, and then all of a sudden at that year, a discussion ensued. But you may not even use it, right? You could throw it out, we could reuse the tape. But it'd be interesting to have it separate too, you know, because I would really like to do that. The idea of the, you know, from the time I was born till which I would like to discuss with the camera. Yeah, I mean, you could be in the room, but I mean, it's
right on, I know. That
and from then on, it becomes a dialogue. And so I think we can get into some outrageous things. And then move along with it, right? Move along with it. We could, you know, just do it as we did until we get to the present. So and then we get to the present, that would be the end of that videotape. You know?
And I want one thing to be clear.
Oh.
Of the material that we are going to develop, I have the rights to use it in a book with proper credits and so on.
Oh, you want me to give you the right?
I have.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought you said.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Well, God, I hope you don't forget to spell my name right or something. No, I mean, you can use it the way you want it. This is, I mean, actually, I think that the information could be used in any number of ways, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
Could be a lousy tape, too. It depends on our video personnel here, you know.
I don't think that it's going to be a lousy tape at all.
Really? I don't think so either. I mean, we could do worse.
So let's start. Oh, just a minute. You want a bite? Do you want
no, I want to just continue with this a little bit because I think that we just really basically have enough time to do some kind of planning. And I think that, you know, like I would just begin the planning right now, but we ought to plan some dates and then, and plan some, you know, like I'm also I'm really interested right now in working on another project. And I feel like, Jesus Christ, here I am, a Greek. I've never made a marble sculpture in my life. Marble, simple, right? Never done that in my life. So I got to call somebody up and find out that this person would get me a perfect piece of Carrara marble if I would only give them the sculpture in advance, usual kind of Houston ripoff, you know. But I think that's great. And what I want to make out of marble is a bomb. I really got the design really worked out in but marble, you know. And
that's a Brancusi.
Well, this one looked like a Russian bomb.
I was thinking the stereotype, you know, with you.
No, this is a Russian bomb, big fat thing, you know, with TNT and explosions and the rest of it. But I think it'd just be representative. I like the shape of the Russian bomb, actually. But I think it would be an atomic-type bomb in plaster. I mean, in marble, Carrara marble. You know, that would be like a really interesting thing I would like to accomplish, you know, in this period of my work. Because it's something I've been thinking about now for a long time. I just got to do it. And it's going to be as See, I mean, all my recent work has been really clean, clean pieces. And so that's good. But as far as the television is concerned, I think that we could also use several television cameras in the early tapes too. I mean,
For
just
sure.
give 2 levels of perspective. So we're gonna have to,
I was suggesting too to start, but we can start with this to sketch it and then get into.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that the first, really, especially when we're kind of working together.
So let's try to, in this shooting, achieve this. Make a presentation, discuss the project, make a resume of it,
Okay.
and then maybe and get financing to get the rest going. Because what we are arriving to is we are going to give the view of what happened in the art scene, right? From your point of view and my point of view, and both together, right? For
Well,
16 years in this country, that is the good material.
I think it's
Many ways.
several ways of looking at this. Really, several levels, and I think that which it also is one level is that we're 2 people in this particular situation that has a really serious involvement in the art situation, and we can and we find ourselves at this point in this place. So I mean, I think
Right.
it has a validity for people that want to know about that, and which I
That's
would
right.
say that there's an audience down here and an audience in the East that would be really totally interested.
Absolutely.
So I mean, but that. So I think it's actually I think it's well, actually my thinking about it, like this morning I was thinking about it, and my thinking about it was that the tape should be probably no longer than 3 hours, but I mean I think it should be at least 3 hours, right? 3 hours, maybe 3.5 hours. It could be. But I thought 3 hours was good.
We need to set the time because it's open.
Well,
And
we
each
gotta buy
one
a
is a
tape. We
separate
gotta figure out what
segment.
we're gonna pay for in this, So we gotta buy a tape, and we gotta use people's time, and the rest of it. So because I think that we might have to shoot a lot more tape to get a 3-hour videotape. Now I know we have to shoot a lot more, and it's hard to tell.
Well, we have it together.
Yeah, because
3
I
hours
want
and a half, but we shoot
should be
as much
edited.
as needed. And then we.
Well, I mean, I want to see it in terms of a complete project because I really would like to go on to the next tape, right? I don't want this to prolong over a longer period of time, so I think it'd be easier if we just set some limits for ourselves. But they're not real limits in a broad sense. They're only limits in terms of this project apparently has to get done so that we can get started with some of the other things that
That's
we were
right.
talking about last night.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't want to spend a whole lot of money because I say it has some marketability. And I think it could help the teaching thing expand.
For
itself.
sure.
And we could send that out, or an excerpt of that out. So, like, we could probably make some money on it, right? But I don't think it's a huge amount of money. It's not like putting a
Just to pay for
decompression
itself.
chamber in the. Yeah, I know, but I mean, it also involves, we're going to have to make decisions about if we're going to do this lecture tour, which I'm totally interested in doing. I think we're going to have to make decisions about, so we'd use the tape in that. But, we're going to have to make decisions about who's going to really take care of the administrative details, letter writing, follow-ups, all that bullshit that you have to do to drive you crazy. I mean, the corporation is, while it's very strong in talent, it's a little bit low in secretarial help at the moment, right? It needs a lot of people that we're willing to do, that kind of work, right? I mean, we got a lot of chiefs now. We all chiefs in this organization. But I mean, there's some kind of nitty-gritty details that I think essential. Would you say?
For sure. But we can either each chip in and do the nitty-gritty or volunteer work in the basis of what is being learned and done.
Well, I think we'll all do nitty-gritty, in other words. But I mean, really, just for the purposes of organization, I think we ought to just start looking forward to a time where we can employ somebody to do our typing and stuff like that.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure.
Because
As soon as possible.
I mean, you can move much quicker.
Oh, I know.
Because I can type at about 30 words a minute.
Oh, I
You can
know.
type at about the same, right? In new spell. Huh? Oh, you spell and improve, that's, I'm the inventor left.
It's not that much.
Really?
Mexicans?
Not that much at all.
Yeah, really. Okay, I think, could we just play that back?
Creative industries is already.
But see, I don't know anything about creative industries.
But never mind. Creative industry it's already putting a fantastic amount of money on the research needed to arrive to the concept of a chain of health centers, right?
Really?
Now, if we put the surgeons, right, in contact with
Yeah,
they might not-
they don't have time to do anything but operations. The fact that we're getting to see them is just one of those
But they
miracles.
are not going to need to do it. The only time asked to them.
I think the thing we got to do is get one established there. And then the chain people can use that idea as their chain, don't you think?
Okay, we
But I
follow
don't
that.
think
We follow that.
I don't want to do it for the chain without the chain returning something so I can build my television station.
Let's try that out.
You know, I mean, a corporation's got to have at least one television station. I'll tell you, baby.
Oh, for sure.
You know.
Oh, that is the actual beginning.
Yeah, really. So, I mean, everything we do has to be related that way. You know, but I think you can put the piece in the medical center. It's an extraordinary job because you've been in Texas long enough to know what a job it is. But it's completely interesting. I think it's interesting enough to do.
And we have the team.
Yeah, and we're probably going to, see, I believe in having a large group of people around you that shift because
Yeah, but
there are times in the journey that you're going through where you need to, and the person that you're making contact with needs to make contact in order to accomplish something. And see, the idea of setting up a video, health, psychological center in the context of the hospital is really something that's interesting to you in relationship to your problems over there. I mean, it's related. It's related to what I'm interested in, and it's related to what you're interested in. You don't think?
Yeah.
Any major video
it
project
becomes a
that
tool
occurs
that
out of
anyone
this
can use
situation?
from whatever point that they
Yeah,
might
it's just a big
have.
feedback thing done in an extraordinary shape. We should put the light on for it. Well, we could, you can see it.
Now, Jim, the videotapes that we are starting, right, are our software resume, right, out of which we will have the names of the other members of the team. Like it's absolutely essential to involve in it Gillette, by instance.
Yeah, well. Well, sure, at some advanced stage, but we don't want to do it now.
Oh,
See,
for
like,
sure.
I mean, there will be a moment where I'll be really involved in that project. There'll be another moment where I won't be involved because my talents are really about a certain kind of organization, you know, which I can do very, very well.
Setting it up.
Yeah, setting up the situation and kind
Start
of
it running and
designating
then you
who
lose
should be
interest.
working on it. Then I think it follows very naturally. It begins to fall into place. Who picks up the responsibility? And it moves very organically, like life, right?
Right.
You know, who picks up the responsibility and begins to move with it towards the goal. But I think everybody stays involved. You know, like, you know, just working on any project. You know, there are periods of times where I'm intensely involved. There are periods of time where somebody else has a deeper involvement. And at that point, you just follow the person that has the deepest involvement, obviously.
For sure.
You know, who's the most passionate at that moment. So, anyways, getting back to what we're talking about, it seems to me that it covers a lot of bases. Any kind of video facility as Sculptor, as health, really just strengthens all of our cases, you know, in any sense of it. And it's not a problem. It's not going to help your immediate kind of problems at the university. Because I think, well, it doesn't seem like Houston has enough of a community television movement yet, but that may not be true. It might be possible to get thrown out of the university, which I think is the best thing that ever happened to anybody in their lives, is to be thrown out of the university, and then begin to develop a real community television situation where you begin to come close to some of the models that have been developed in California at least 5 or 6 years ago.
Look, before, let me point out something. Before we think even needing to get financing to arrive to the studio that we will be there for us to start shooting with whatever equipment we can scrounge around, we can build the structure with bamboo and mylar.
Well, I mean, we got to get it quicker.
I mean, it's just a matter of getting a team of 15 freaks that are into building, into videotape, and into being completely open.
Let's see, you know, if it needs 12.
We can put the pyramid up, and that and a piece of ground that you know, in the ranch, doesn't matter where. I mean, we can actually do that, let's say, in one summer.
No question in my mind. Things with the medical center, which really relate, I'm going to relate several things. I'm going to relate the whole idea of their need to display their information a little more intelligent. I could design a system, right? So, which is the way to the idea of developing a context in which the people who participate in this center can really take advantage of you know, the media.
Let me put just
See, I have to know my rap really well.
Okay, let me put a piece of information for the rap to the surgeons.
Okay.
You have mastered it. You are the only one in the world that can do it. And you should charge not $30,000 for it. You should charge $200,000 for it. And not for the operation.
$200 million.
Or $200 million, right. The way to do it is for it to become like a match for the championship of the world, right?
Well, that ain't gonna get them to build too many meditation centers.
Oh no, just a minute. No, just a minute. So anyone that is a surgeon is learning how to do it, right? At the same time, you are really getting enough audience, so the patients that are going to need it, right, will get it free because you are getting $2 million. See what I'm saying? As soon as you put the information out,
Yeah, well,
and the
let's
access
not go
is
too
free.
fast with them. They're pretty brilliant, but they ain't that fast, I'm sure.
Okay, but you can
It's
take
true.
that.
It's
You can
absolutely
take
true.
that and put it at the level of their ambition.
Yeah, really,
Ambition,
really.
you know.
Okay, but that's really what we're talking about.
Right.
Well, I think, well... So anyway,
And
so
you
the
have
next
the
thing is to
credentials to say, well, that like you know, this is what I have done, and the tapes that we are doing will be our software resume, Jim.
yeah, the software resume, but we go, I mean, really, I want to work on that resume a little bit. Because I have some, I like to put some information in there, you know, that will just kind of give it a little better. You know, make it harder for them to see it, really.
Straight up, we bring it this way. Would that be any good?
To understand what we think the tetrahedron sphere or tetraunitron, to coin a word for it, will accomplish, we can think in terms of what happens with light in a laser beam. If you feed a light,
Diffuse.
an incoherent light signal in the laser, that incoherence is transformed into coherence. And we all know what that means. It means a light that being coherent gives us a greater amount of energy with a least amount of waste. It will, as we know, the laser beam itself be perhaps the most important tool of communication in the hands of the human being. We believe that the tetrahedron sphere in a very, very real way will be a synergizer, as the laser is, of light, of psychic energy, of the energy of the human beings that gather inside of the building, arriving with incoherent signals, will, by the process of relating inside of such structure, achieve coherence.
Do you have any last words for the human race? As far as your hopes for the future of mankind?
I think that the future is in our hands, and I think we are heading towards heaven in heaven.
Party boat.
Yeah,
charter.
exactly.
Out of here?
Out of Emeryville. I ran a boat out of San Francisco for a year. I've worked out of the city, but I work more out in the Bay Area.
Yeah. How's the fishing been?
Fishing, the boat I'm working on right now is a halibut boat, and it's still a little early, so it's picking up. It's good.
Can you make my last sweeter son?
You want to put sugar in that?
Yes, you don't want 8 of them in there. What
Yes.
take you in for diabetic shock? Yes.
You want 8 sugars in there?
Yeah, I need 8 sugars.
Oh man, I think I know where you get your energy now.
You know, I didn't sleep last night. You didn't?
That's only 2.
Listen, I don't give my baby that much sugar. He won't go to sleep for 2 weeks if I give him that much sugar. Well, I just need a...
There you go.
You're not going to go on record as eating this.
I know.
You're not going to go what?
You got me on record doing this to you.
When the indictment comes down, there you'll be, putting the sugar in there, right? Yeah, you seem to be completely jacked up on sugar. So this is just what the stuff looks like. Goody.
The project is to build one pyramid in Teotihuacan, Mexico, related to the pyramid of the sun, oriented in terms of information that the pyramid of the sun is giving. The second pyramid will be built in Philadelphia, in front of the Liberty Bell is, in that plaza, over the trees. It will not affect what is there.
See you again, huh?
And then, when I was putting information out from the Committee for the Future, another of the things that I think is needed is a communication satellite between the 2 pyramids in a stationary orbit. In other words, it will be here, right? When I put that information out, one day I arrived to the committee and they told me that physicist engineer working on satellites from the Air Force wanted to have some information for me. And he was thrilled because what he wanted to tell me is that there is a satellite beyond the drafting board being built that will be where I need it. When he came with that information, I said to him, I cannot call that a coincidence. You see, that tells me, that is a sign, that tells me that my timing is like your timing is like whoever is behind that, the Air Force or COMSAC, whatever corporation is building the satellite, has found a reason to put it, and I found them in space and time. So it's just good navigational devices. Now, independently of the satellite being a communication link with the pyramids, I want to add an optical feature to those of the satellite communicating. The optical feature will communicate too. But what the optical feature will do is to create a rainbow day and night that will be visible from Philadelphia, Mexico. A device that breaks the spectrum of light is giving you information about what is in the atmosphere and what is it tells you what a star is made out of, because it gives you information about what elements are creating the light. So independently of it being like a spectroscope in the sky, is announcing the beginning of the Aquarian age. It's it's a sign.
Raining, son of a gun, raining.
Het Stedelijk Museum in Amsterdam, het eerste museum in Nederland dat op werkdagen ook 's avonds open is, herbergt onder de naam Luchtkunst een merkwaardige expositie van projecten en objecten die zonder de toevoer van lucht volkomen vormeloos zouden blijven. Het zijn veelal in plastic uitgevoerde werken van verschillende in Amerika levende kunstenaars. Door een ventilator bewogen draperieën zijn heel wat ingewikkelder dan de luchtkunst die elke bezoeker hier kan produceren, als bewijs van de vormverandering van een gesloten object door lucht. De in Mexico geboren Arturo Cuetara gebruikte de uitlaat van een stofzuiger om tafeltennisballetjes in een kwikbad in beweging te brengen. Van Gerald Hayes hangt er deze zogenaamde ruimte-envelop,